more space you give us to be able to do what's right is the more normal it'll become in relationships or work. And not only like intimate relationships, but relationships is work. So I realized that, again, I didn't get to my point. I can't wait to get to it. But I realized that I need to better surround myself with relationships that matter. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you could surround yourself with so many things and it becomes like clutter, and you trying to maintain and entertain clutter and noise and all that good stuff. So I surrounded myself, because some people just didn't qualify. Like when I decided to level up and get more transparent and get more vulnerable, and I also want to put it out there to anybody that thinks that if a man is transparent and vulnerable makes him weak, feel more than, oh, okay, all right. Sorry.
I don't have any bleep drop, so whatever's going out is going out.
Listen.
I'm just saying.
He said feel, and I was like,
can I good? Listen,
I thought it was gonna be something else.
There will be no invitations to that event that you're trying to.
I'm just saying
that you're trying to. There's
There's
no
the pop-up shop.
Pop-up shop. Yeah,
there's no that invitation is closed. There's no. All
right.
No.
Let me say it better. It sounded a little aggressive, but it wasn't about like violence. I'm a peaceful guy. I'm a lover. But what I'm saying is, I realized there are some people that just didn't qualify, or didn't have the capacity, or didn't have the strength to be able to handle my vulnerability and my transparency and my truth. Right. I taught my son and mentees and such, like, there is strength in being vulnerable. There is strength in being transparent. The problem is you just have to make sure that you're in the right spaces to do so.
Right.
You know, you don't call a police officer for a fire.
Right.
You know, like, you have to know like who and what is in your life for who and what and where, but don't disqualify like the privileges that you should have and then make that society's norm.
That's good.
The only
Go ahead, give your pushback.
Listen, no. I don't have a listen, I'm not gonna push back on your unheard heart. You know, like we literally, the whole conversation is, you got enough, apparently. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not gonna I think that there is a clear expression for women. You see podcasts, you see platforms, you see conferences, you know, of the power of the woman, the understanding of the woman, the expression of the woman, the heartbreak of the woman, where she can, even in church, she can go to the altar and lay out on the floor and cry and dance and scream. And the normalcy it is, you know, of her. And it won't even be like, oh, she must be going through it. Right. But if a man did the same thing, they'd be like, touch him, God, correct him. You know, there's an assumption.
Correct him.
It didn't correct him. It's an assumption that, oh, you know, like, he really need God, as if you needed God any less. Right. But the
take him away from whatever
take him away, deliver him,
take him out of it,
take him out of it. Yeah. Because he's always in something. Instead of, it could be that the break was Jesus, no one else would allow me to be who you said I had permission to be. But in this space, only at your altar do I get freedom to just be the authenticity of who you say I am. The world doesn't say that I have permission to do that. Right. And I am so tired, I can't even be heavy because it's too exhausting to carry the weight of heavy. You know what I mean? And but the thought that kept coming up in my mind is, I was like, we always talk about like quality time, like, you know, you're like, you need to spend quality time with your family, you need to spend quality time with, you know, people, you need to spend and all these things, but the phrase of it that I kept hearing was quality patience. It was, do you have quality patience for the men in your life?
Oh wow.
Because then, and in that space, and I was so glad that you said servanthood. I go, because servanthood, especially in this culture, has such a negative connotation to it. Yeah. When the best relationships are servanthoods, absolutely. that cross pollinate, you know, one another. And I'm like, but the best servant, the best. When you go to the Ritz-Carlton, the reason why the service is so impeccable is because they have quality patience and finding out what your particular need is.
Absolutely, that's good. That right
they are one, listening to you, finding out what you're there for, asking you what you would like, and then giving you the space to be where you need to be, and then always available though when you're ready. Absolutely. and you're needed. Whether it's food, whether it's a drink, whether it's a spa, whether it's them being a concierge to make a phone call for you instead of you having to do that. How can I take things off of your plate? Yeah. And the only way that I can be a good partner or of service to you as husband, as brother, as friend, as incorporation, whatever it is to have quality patience towards the way that you operate that is foreign to me.
Right.
I think those are as you were talking, I thought about going to a nice hotel and the doorman, you know what I'm saying, like being attentive to what you needed, you know what I mean, like the bellhops, you know, like the different people that help you, you know what I mean, like they're there to make sure that you're good, right? And I feel like the best ones take note. They make a note of it. They go, nah, that this gentleman right here, he likes it. I see he doesn't really like a lot of fuss. He just needs, okay, I make a note of that. So the next time that he saw me, you know, he made sure, can I make sure that I take this?
Right.
And then the messed up part about that is that vacations end. Right. So like I experienced that when I went, you know, when I was earlier this year, I went on the company retreat, and I was like, this is great. And I got back to New York, and I was like, right. And then, you know, not for nothing. And then the Uber came, and I had to put my suitcase in the car.
Get your own bag.
Because that's over. You know what I'm saying? We back in, you know, we back in the spot, and we got to do everything I got to do, and I got to hustle. So, but that's the thing. Like, vacations end. Yeah. It's not. It's the exception. It's not the norm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and and the crazy part is, you see videos of these extravagant gestures for women, and then that is their proof of how great this man is in particular. And it's weird because we've been taught that is how a man demonstrates his love and his heart to you and his works. But what it sounds like is the accumulation,
Then nobody cared for me
like
that.
Then nobody cared for you like.
Nobody cared for me like that.
Yeah.
If my demonstration was in that kind of stuff,
man,
and I do that well, damn, I ain't really been careful like that.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Which is wild. But my thought is, I was like, but it sounds like the accumulation of the small things is really how you're best cared for. Because when you mentioned the bellhop, you mentioned these are all small tasks. that meet you on the way of where you're going.
But they were huge, though.
But they were hugely impactful. Huge. But that's what I'm talking about.
They were attention to detail.
Yeah, attention
they
to
were
detail.
attention to right?
Was the biggest part.
Paying attention to you, hearing you, seeing how, first of all, they know the direction that you're going into because they're paying attention to where you're going, right? I was like, so I'm like, in our communication with one another, are we paying attention to where each other is going to find out how we can be a help? That way I know when you need to, this bag that you're carrying is too heavy.
It's too heavy, yeah.
So I understand that we need to stop here. I think we talked about this last season about the bags, right? We went to a whole thing about the bags. And there is a desire, though, for women who are connected to just not even just in spousal ways, but I think of even like my son. I'm always looking for ways to help alleviate the pressure of his bag. And the funny thing is my son said to me one time, he goes, I get what you're trying to do, but back off. And I was like, hold on. My language changed. It wasn't, because who you talking to? Because who you talking to? But he was like, he said no. He was like, it's hard and I understand what you're trying to do. He was like, but I just need a minute to be in this place. He was like, to figure something out. And he was like, are you trying to talk to me at the same time? I just need to like hear my own thoughts without hearing your suggestions on how I should deal with the thought. And I was like, I was in the mommy in me was like, but I can help you. And I was like, and then also the mommy in me was like, oh my God, he is becoming a man. And he is doing what I told him that he should do, which is think. I told you to think. I told you that there's going to be times that you're going to have to deal with things, that you're going to have to be able to search yourself. And now I have to make sure that I'm not the sabotager of the process that he needs to go through in order to honestly express himself, because I want to be a part of the process. Can
I tell you, here's the thing. You did a great thing for him. You started him off on a great path.
Right.
Because when he was 2, 3, toddlers, you're going to make, mistakes, you're going to, whatever, behavioral issues, things like that. And then there's going to be a time where you need to cry. You gave him a space. You told him it was okay to go cry, right? To take a moment. Just that right there, take a moment. I didn't really, you know what I mean? Like there are times when I couldn't take a moment, right? I couldn't take a moment equals breathing. It equals compose yourself for a second. It equals process whatever's happening. Reset. It equals all those things. You told him, hey, it's okay to do that. Just go ahead and do that. It's all right. So now he feels like if he sees me going through a hard time, he's like, yo, you good? He might come, like put a hand on my shoulder. But by and large, he's like, nah, like I'm going to give that the space. So you've already broken that, you know what I'm saying? Like you broke it because you were like, listen, you need to have that.
My baby is 17.
Yes, he is.
No, the young man that
he got chin hair. Ain't no
all right, we get it. I'm like this young man, so that when he watches it, he don't be like, "Ma, please." But what I've recognized is it's weird because as a young boy, when he would like cry, he would try to like hurry up and like wipe his tears. And I was like, no. You can cry. You can, I was like, but what would happen is like, he would like throw tantrums and scream as toddlers and young kids, do. And I was just like, okay, I was like, you need a moment to just like have your moment. And I was like, but you have that language. I'm like, you have language to tell me like what's going on and what's happening. I would ask him, I was like, do you need a moment by yourself? I was like, or do you want to talk about it? And he was just like, I need a minute. And I'm just like, I'm like, all right. And I was like, listen, I was like, and we would set boundaries, right? I'm like, they call it like gentle parenting now. I don't think I'm a gentle parent. I would, like, let him, he had his own room through the grace of God. I was like, I would let him go in his room, and I was like, you could close the door, don't slam the door. I was like, because I don't want him to equate taking time for yourself, meeting it with like a violent act, you know what I mean, and aggression. I'm like, close the door, have the moment, and we would always come back and talk,
and circle back,
and like circle back and talk. But here's the thing: I was like, now that he's older, and the circle back and talk is not necessarily with me. And I think I was like, and I know women who do this with their spouses. Sometimes your husband, your boyfriend, your brother, your friend needs to process what they're going through without you. And our response is, I'm accustomed to being a part of the process because, and it's a control issue now that I'm thinking it through, it's because I know how to heal through this space and you don't. So I know how to give you language. I know how to give you actions in a space that in a body I've never lived in before, and an existence that I don't have to participate in. But I'm going to tell you how to do this thing better.
You know how to mother through the space.
I know how to.
There we go. There we go.
And I am a man. I have a mother. You are not my mother. And so you're going to have to find different language to speak to me than when you speak to your child. Because all the things you said were teachable things.
Correct.
Instead of how to there's a different level of confrontation when you're speaking to a man than when you're rearing a child. And so that level of confrontation has to be met with different language. You're not gonna train me. You're not gonna teach me. You're not going to develop me. I am a man. I need to be developed by another man. You can't do that. You can only hope to get out of me as much as you put in me. But you cannot develop me. You cannot train me. I'm not your child. And so there's always going to be conflict when you try to raise a man, especially after you've raised a boy.
Right.
So there's always going to be that conflict, and it is. Jesus.
It's a lot. And here's the thing. And we had that space. Listen, I always laugh because like when you meet my husband, he is he's mild and like in tone. He's very calm.
You
very
call me Clark Kent.
Right? Yeah. All the time. All the time, because he's, hey, how you doing? You good? All right. Great meeting you. Right? And he has that, but play him wrong though. Like play him wrong. And I remember having a conversation with him, and I have a little. How can I say this?
I can help you find a word.
I don't need you to help me find a word. Sometimes I have a little backsliding into older behavioral ways and language. Greg is like, I'm not touching that. I'm like, and what would happen was he would real low in tone. Real low in tone. He was like, I'm just trying to make sure that you're talking to me or you're talking to Demetrius. And I was like, I'm sorry, what do you mean? And he was just like, are you asking me a question or are you giving me a command? And I was like, no, I'm not. Because now defense mechanism pops up,
kicks in,
right? I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying. He goes, you're not inquiring about how I got there, what's going on, and what's happening. He was like, you made an assumption and then double down on your assumption with the command, and then you're trying to figure out why I'm not responding to the double down of your assumption and your command. And I was just like, me? I'm doing that?
And all of those things, I was finding out, like, it's in the same thing Greg is saying. It's different when a man is I don't even know what it's like to raise a, like a girl, like a little, a daughter. Like raising a boy to be a man is not for the weak. It's a different kind of discipline. And I had to learn, how to, I talked earlier about learning a new language. That's a new language, a new way of walking, a new way of, like a new bicycle, whatever. Like learning how to pedal and do all those things. So that was me finding my footing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and sometimes it came out rough.
Yeah, a little bit.
It came out rough.
And I was just like, I need a minute.
Right. No.
I need a minute. But then I would ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's what I value about our partnership.
Yeah.
Is that we've both made room to ask questions with the understanding that there will be a misunderstanding.
Yeah, right. That's good.
Right? I can ask a question because I am really seeking to learn and understand. And sometimes I don't have the proper vocabulary, because it's not like because women have had the ability to express themselves that they express themselves well. Okay. And I was like, because you can be emotionally ignorant. You can be emotionally stunting. Yeah. You can be emotionally violent, and you can be emotionally uncaring towards the person that you're in a conversation with. Right. But because you are expressing yourself, you are making the statement as that you are more in touch or understood. And I was like, and that's not the case. Right. And I'm like. My centered desire, though, is I'm like, man, if we really got to this place where we recognize that we weren't each other's enemies, and that we recognize that our connection was stronger together, right. And that I don't have to demonize or minimize your heart in order for both hearts to be heard and seen, that it will be a much more incredible space and place of understanding. One, by recognizing that my husband is not my son, but he's my partner, and in that, then I need to speak to him as if he's a partner, and not command him as if he was a child. And then in talking with like my brothers, being able to be a safe space of understanding and communication, but also being able to be to show a quality on all fronts of patience, so that there is freedom in this space, and not just here, but being able to exercise it in your smaller zones, so that it's natural when you do it externally and outside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know which point to touch on, but I want to give you your flowers, because there's something else that kind of gets overlooked that y'all do, that's like the undercurrent. Like, it's so impactful, but it goes unnoticed. So outside of like training and raising like your child, I do the same with my son. Like, I recognize that there's things that I wasn't allowed to do, that I was going to give him the privilege to be able to do. And trailblazing is hard, right? And then you're going against like...
Trailblazing is hard.
Norm, you're going against history, you're going against all that good stuff. But sometimes you got to take inventory of like why you have the makeup that you have. And then you choose to do something different, like evolution is different. So what y'all have done, and I've witnessed it myself, that you do with your son, is... you weren't a hypocrite with the instruction that you gave. So sometimes people want people to do great things, and you gave them great tools and qualities and aspects, but you think that it is limited. So it's like, if you need a break, if you need a time, you need to be able to like voice yourself. If you need a moment, say you need a moment and all that good stuff, but not with me. But you can't do it with me. Like, you create such a confusion with a young person, period, because now they have to figure out the right time, place, sequence of events. Is it about authority? Is it about like parent? Is it about it gets so confusing, and then when they miss the mark, you're outraged. So what I've watched you do is being able to give your son the space to be able to like communicate how he feels, but don't use it as a weapon against him as well. Right? And so many times people are like, well, if what you should do is you should start saying no. You say yes to too many people. You need to start saying no. but don't say no to me. Right? But what happens when it qualifies? Like, what happens? Because if you're telling a person, like, you have to be aware of your capacity, that doesn't mean that they always have the capacity for you as well.
Yeah.
You know, and as parenting, that's hard. It's really, really hard. I mean, in relationships and anything meaningful, you're gonna have the hard. You just have to do the hard. You know, and I've watched y'all do it, so I want to give y'all flowers in regards to that. No. And in regards to you digging in your, you know, sometimes backsliding, because that's what you do sometimes in your word and in your actions. See? Oh, your hand went up. You see what I'm saying?
Just to keep it, because he's about to make you lose it. And what he just said, when you identified the positive side to what you guys are doing, the negative side is that if you required him to do everyone else but you, the resentment towards women would come from you. So now his expectation of every other woman he meets is to do the same thing he does, and if he hears similar language, he's going to reject them immediately.
Right. Immediately. I know that voice.
He's going to reject it.
I don't trust it.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's loaded. That's loaded.
I'm
actually advice is loaded.
Counting on that. I'm actually counting on that. If we can be like, I've told you certain things. I'd be like, man, his wife is going to be, you know, she's going to be fortunate. You know what I'm saying? To have cutting through the noise, right? Because there's certain things he's just not going to put up with. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things he's going to be like, I didn't see my Uncle Keith do that. I didn't see my Uncle Greg do that. I didn't see Dad do that. Nah, I ain't doing it. Yeah. And then that's how you cut through the noise. Yeah. And then that is doing something that I didn't do. Right. I settled for the noise early on. Right. Yeah. So now he, you know, hopefully he'll do less of the settling. Right. And then, you know, that's how the subsequent generations, like, they get better. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I'm watching him. I know we just got on my son, but that's not say something about it. No, I'm joking. But what I watched him do, even in, like, you know, in his relationships, and I won't go deep because I won't violate his space. But a part of the communication that he spoke of was being able to recognize what he could and couldn't do. Yeah. He was like, your desire that you have, if I can't meet you, I need to be honest with you and tell you that that I'm not there yet. Okay. Or like, I remember we went out to, I think he was 13, 14. Oh. And we would do, you know, like, we would do mommy and son dates. But sometimes, like, if he had, you know, enough money, he was like, taking you out, Mom. Let's let's go. And I'm like, where we going? He was like, Applebee's. I was like, wow. I was like, we gotta up your place, you know. But no, I thought it was, like, super cute. And sometimes we would just be like, he was like, but we just getting dessert. I'm like, that's because you cheap, bro. I was like, you got money for dinner. And he goes, you can cook, and then we can just go eat dessert. Listen, but we got him better. He's better now. But we went out and we were just talking. And I was like, well, you know what? You're getting older. Like, you know, like, how are you feeling about, like, girls and all that stuff, or whatever the case may be? And he was like, I like him. And I was like, all right. That was a lot. And he was like, I like him. He was like, well, here's what I know. He was like, I'm not ready to date him now. And I was like, what? You don't want to, like, you know, take a little girl to, like, the movie or whatever? And he was like, nah. He was like, I'm really comfortable being selfish right now. Uh-huh. And because the way that he saw his dad be with me, he was like, I'm not ready for that kind of. He was like, I don't want to. He's like, I don't want to do that right now. And he was like, and if I can't do it right, then I don't think I should do it. That's good. He was like, but if I'm just friends, you know, he was like, then I can just be, you know, whatever, and not have to sacrifice. He said, he told me, and I was like, and mind you, I'm looking at him, I'm like, how old are you again? Because there are grown women and men who are not honest about the fact of that they're not ready to be unselfish. That they're not ready to listen to the other side of the fence. Right. And then submit to a need that doesn't, that's not uncomfortable, right? I was like, servitude is really easy when you love everything that you do. I was like, but a good servant does it when they're uncomfortable and they don't want to do it, because the meeting of the need is more, it supersedes the discomfort for the moment.
Correct.
People don't know how to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
The society says that, you can be completely opposite of that. But yeah, no, that's super impactful, and he's in a place where a lot of adults choose not to be. Like, that's a super mature place. My son, I'm not gonna embarrass him, but he said something similar to me as well. In his little situation, friendship, relationship, a little while ago. I don't know what to call it.
Well, it's always little when it's. I can't see like your little man.
He's still little. He's always gonna be little.
He's always gonna be little.
And when he is, I'll bend him over. I'll curl him. I'll hit him in his chest. But no, he made a comment to me where, one of the biggest fears of a good parent, and that's the difference. Like we say, like the word parent and raise and stuff like that. But there's a difference in how you choose a parent and how intentional you are, because it's bigger than you, right? It's bigger than your comfort in the moment or whatever the case may be. Losing sleep, sacrifice, and finances, like emotional space, like. You have to sacrifice a lot of it. Like I tell people all the time, like parenting is one of the hardest things that you're going to do. So is marriage, but parenting is also one of the hardest things that you're going to do.
Yeah.
And also one of the biggest fears for me was the representation of people around him. People will say like, oh, you're so funny. Like you never bring them around. You don't do things. But I don't think everybody qualifies to be a part or be in the space of everything. I just don't. And it's no offense,
right?
But it's just kind of like, you don't qualify to kind of like be around my kid, because
don't make sense.
There's things that I don't know if I want him to pick up from you. I may deal with it myself because I also have a different kind of capacity and understanding about it, right? But he's still he's in a sponge state, and I don't want him picking up attributes, energy, your ideology, or whatever the case may be from you necessarily. And one of my biggest fears was making sure that he's always in a space of success. And we should want this for anybody, that it's not limited to parenting. You should want your people to be, that you love, to be in places of success for whatever they will pick up intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
And then they will be able to make sound decisions. One of my biggest fears, again, was that he will, like who he would choose to be around, who he would choose to deal with. So it kept me sitting up straight. Because I needed to live by example. I wanted to be a good representation of like what a man looks like. I told him early on, like, it is good to cry, like men cry. Real men wear pink. We wore that pin one time, like, and put it on the refrigerator and stuff like that. Break the narrative that boxed me in.
That's good.
And give him the space. He has a lot. He's very much more fortunate than me. He lives a way more privileged life than I've been able to do. He's also, goes through his storms and his seasons as well. But he has better tools than I had and better support.
To navigate those spaces.
To navigate it. Yeah. So, evolution is hard, and who he chooses to be around. And he told me, I decided to like just take a couple of steps back from X, Y, and Z because I just didn't have it. And it was like one of the most maturest things that I heard him say. It was like, wow. Like, wow. Like I appreciate that. And if that person really matters, that person will also appreciate it or learn to appreciate it as well, because you deserve to be able to do that.
Great language.
Great positioning, and I know that we've been talking about like the kids, but I want to get back to the center, to the individual, and you all three of you, I'm equipping you with a paintbrush. Okay, you have this paintbrush, and this paintbrush is how you will paint the way you wish you were able to operate without the negative beat back.
Right.
Like, what do you look like without the what do you believe you would look like or sound like without the having to fit into a mold of survival in the way that your language moves emotionally. Like, what is that? What does that look like?
For me, it's, I don't know. It's kind of like a to be continued with me. It's kind of like the me now. You know, I'm in a different kind of place now. Like, I unapologetically who I need to be, how I need to be now. You know, and it took a while, and I had to go through a lot of things that I know that I delayed. You know, it's kind of like you don't show up to class, you don't get the lesson, you know, kind of thing. So sometimes we kind of like delay, like we get distracted with things in life, or, you know, life beats us up. But at the end of the day, like, what's for you is for you. And I know that, like, my best, I've been through some madness and still, you know what I mean? But I think that I don't have a paintbrush in my hand. I think that I am the paintbrush, and I'm about to paint this town a little bit different.
Come on.
2 seconds.
Come on, facts.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm going to echo that sentiment because I am the paintbrush painting or depicting vulnerability and transparency and integrity because that'll follow me everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter who I'm with, who I'm interfacing with. I'm interfacing with you, with our son, you know, my mom, with family members, whoever. I'm going to be integral. I'm going to be transparent, be vulnerable, right? If you want that. If you don't want that, then that's fine too, because that's me being respectful of where you are, right? Some people aren't ready for that, and that's fine too. I'm going to put everything out on the table so that no matter what, like you got the real me. It's your turn. Right. And if you chose not to, then that's fine too.
Right. But I'm not gonna shrink.
I'm not gonna shrink.
Yeah.
Like I gave you me. I gave you all of me. I gave you all the things that, you know, like, yes, I'm a creative, and, you know, there's other things I do and technological things and all that stuff. But the essence of me is transparency and vulnerability.
That's dope.
You know what I'm saying? And just being there. I want to be like that. That's my aim. So and here's the thing. Surrounding myself, right, with people that can, you know, Greg calls me on my stuff on a regular basis, and I appreciate him for it. I honestly think God put him in my life so that he could do that. There's probably one other man that could do that to me. So, and it's not my dad. Funny as it may be, love him to death, it's not him. So, people that can do that for me, that keeps me vulnerable, that keeps me honest, that keeps me accountable. I want that. That right
so
there.
freeing.
Yeah, it's freeing.
It's like not having a secret. You know how heavy, having to like keep things in and lock it up and then protect it also at the same time, so you can't go too far because you got to watch the safe, like you got to watch the bag. Like it's crazy. But when you don't have to,
you gotta do that. No.
And I don't have to no more.
No.
I ain't gonna, no. You know, don't shrink yourself.
No, let that go.
Little people.
I thought you were looking into the camera. I would say that I think I'm in the place where I'm developing that image or that freedom, those removing those boundaries. Because I can't. Be honest. I can't say that I'm there and I'm unapologetically myself, because I just started not answering people when I felt like I'm overwhelmed. So it's like usually like because for me, I thought that if I didn't answer, it would make me unreliable.
Got it.
And so I'm like, because I always answer, and they're like, "Oh, Greg, you know, you're always doing blah, blah, blah." And
now you pigeonholed.
And so and so now I'm like, because I didn't respond to you in the time you needed something, I'm unreliable. And it's like, did you ask me how I was doing, or were you asking me how I was doing so you can get the precursor out the way, so you can get to what you want?
Prepping you,
right? Like you're softening me up. Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, by the way,
Didn't hear your answer.
Right. Yeah. I could have said, I'm jumping off a building right now. I'm sorry. Just
But before you do that,
of course,
disclaimer. I just wanted to give a disclaimer. I'm sorry.
We're not making fun of
but like
in that space, but just just so,
right.
but
showing extreme of that
showing
level.
the extreme of it though.
Right.
Yeah.
Showing the extreme of that, I think is. I've watched, and I won't use who actually did it, but I've watched the expression of a statement that you have made of just transparency of a heavy moment, a heavy moment.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh wow, like that's crazy." Listen, I was
It's wild.
as if his humanity didn't exist. So
They put a
But
proud of you.
But
Look at
that is a double-edged sword, right?
Right.
Because I have made you feel that
I've
there
trained
is
you that way.
nothing.
yeah.
You can't check on me because there's nothing ever really going to be wrong with me,
Right.
and there's nothing you can do to help me.
Right.
So if I already put you in that position to where your mindset is you look at me and you're like, oh, that's fine, without even asking me,
Yeah.
then there's I can't hold you now responsible to check in on me.
Yeah.
Because I put that in you. I gave you that. I trained you. Like I manufactured that image for you to have.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's going to be a lot of tough conversations. Or
Yeah.
tough pills to swallow when people realize I'm human. And then because I have to be more honest with myself that I am human.
Yeah.
And I think that will allow me to get to that place of the unapologetic version and all of those things. But yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm really in process of doing that. It's not like saying no. Like it's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it may sound like duh, say no.
Okay, so you do.
But it's not
Right.
It's not. It's not a dub.
It's not easy.
But when you're so used to performing at a high capacity,
Right.
even when you're exhausted, and you can still. Not to say that, and in no means in way, shape, or form to think that I'm better than anyone.
Right.
But if my lowest energy output can equate to something that satisfies you beyond what you thought you would get, then for me, I'm just like breathing. And for you, it's like, oh my God, you really spent time to do something.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. And it's like, I guess. I guess. I know what I could have done.
I know. And that part.
But and allowing myself to say no, don't even give that,
Right.
because that still takes something from you,
It does.
Yeah.
That you can't get back. Absolutely.
right? So kind of just getting that place where I can just be like, all right, no, I need this, and even dumb language like, man, I earned this rest. I'm like I was talking the other day, I said it to someone, I forgot what I said it to you. I was like, yeah, I earned this rest. I'm about to take a nap. And I'm like, did I really just say I
Even that
earned?
language.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
You don't
Bro,
have
you're
to
supposed
earn
to rest.
This is this new phrase that I just
You
uttered.
don't
What is
have
this?
to earn
Is this real?
rest.
It's like I get to catch my breath, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, the holding of the breath is the not normal part. Right.
The not resting is the not normal part. Like you
breathing, the resting.
stifling yourself is not normal.
That's
Exactly.
not normal.
Exactly.
But I've trained people to accept me this way.
Yeah.
And so now I have to do
Unprogram.
unprogram not only myself, but now I have to unprogram people.
Carefully.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
carefully.
they can end up resenting me, thinking
Right.
that
Right.
I'm changed or act new
Right.
of them.
Right.
And it's not new. It's just I'm kind of more understanding of who I am.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a process, but it's going to be necessary.
But necessary. But necessary.
Your minimum is people's maximum.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is crazy. And that happens a lot in my spaces as well, right?
Yeah.
So we shrink ourselves,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. Or we just shrunk for the moment, but it's
Right.
still their maximum. But then when I show you like my might, then it's kind of like intimidating. Now it becomes a problem. Like that's why I said earlier that making sure that you're surrounding yourself in the right spaces with the right people intentionally is important, because then we get to kind of like grow together, or you understand that I kind of just been hunched over. Like I'm actually bigger than you think, kind of thing, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm bigger than you, and it doesn't mean that I'm bigger
Yo, that's so
as an
important.
intimidating tactic, right? But just because you might have to like look up a little bit more, right? Like see me spread my wings, see like what I'm actually capable of. If you really are like team village us, then we inherit this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have any degrees. I mean, School of Hard Knocks, and like I got like a doctorate, like, and I'll do better than a lot of people with plaques on the wall.
Right.
But I don't know coding. Right, but I do because my brother does.
That's what I'm like. Yeah,
like I don't even gotta talk about all the things that I'm able to do because you're able to do it. Yo, I don't know how to do any of the setup situation, but I do today. Like my village is and we should be able to take that perspective, and know that it is my privilege to be able to inherit certain things. And we live in such a silo kind of mentality or whatever, and it's also in our DNA, like divide and conquer, like it's really in our roots, and it's hard to kind of like get that out. But like I'm in a space now where like if you qualify to be inside of my life and I qualify to be inside of yours, and then like mi casa, su casa,
let's be in community.
Yeah.
Let's really make the cliches what the cliches was really meant to mean.
Right. And let it not be a cliche.
Right.
Like let it be an authentic statement.
Right.
Look. So good. This was so much more than I thought it was. But see, I knew that prayer before was gonna hit. Don't judge me, Greg. I was like, thank you guys. Thank you for educating. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for being clear. Thank you for giving me in this platform the honor of hearing your heart in spaces in a way that the world outside these cameras have not always greeted you with loving kindness. And I pray that this plants a seed of trees of willingness to be patient with quality for the husbands, the brothers, the spouses, your coworker.
Yeah, fuck.
Like your coworker.
Huge.
Your son, your children, just understanding that this division that says that I can only operate in this heart space, and that you should be bending to my heart, and I never bend to yours, is divisive. It is toxic. It is not godly. It is not what Jesus did. He was evidently there for men, for women, hearing their hearts, hearing their woes, hearing their sicknesses, hearing their ailments, hearing their difficulties, hearing their confusions and their misunderstandings, and he met them in these ways where he didn't not hear them.
Right.
Mind you, a God who knows all still listened.
Right.
Still listened and cared about how you felt and how you dealt with things. And with these nuances, it didn't eliminate right accountability, responsibility, and all of those things. But if God would take his time to hear me, and you say that you love and you care or you support or you whatever, and we're sharing this world together, I need to hear you, even if I don't agree or even if I don't understand. Right. My misunderstanding does not disqualify what your experience is and what your voice is. So thank you, guys, for coming on, for going from an unheard heart to a heard heart for at least a little while. At least a little while. And I'm so proud of you who are walking in the authenticity of your transparency, of your vulnerability, of your deciding to be who you are, and then developing the fullness of what it is you seek for your life to be emotionally free, and understanding the part that you played in it, but understanding that just because you played the part in it in the past, that you're not bound to keep it, forever. Huge. So huge, amazing things. Listen, I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Make sure that that you stay connected. If you were a man and it's blessed you, please let us know. If you're a woman and it's blessed you, please let us know. I am so grateful for this space with all of you, but especially with you. So remember that I see you, that I am listening, that I love you, and God bless.